find that for those who focus on the don'ts versus the do's, that the young people feel more trapped in that type of an environment and not empowered?
I think it's case by case. I try not to talk about my background too much because I know it doesn't matter. If I'm talking to educators, and like when I was in Rio Grande, Texas, I was speaking at a school and I was asking, what's your biggest problem? I thought they were going to say bullying, right? That was like the hot button back then. Bullying. He said, theft. Theft. What do you mean? He said, well, a lot of parents don't have jobs, and so they steal extra school lunches. And then I realized it was a great percentage of this community didn't have running water. I mean, it freaked me out. There are cases like that, right? But people want to learn. People want to do better. And if you give them something to shoot for, the human spirit is unbelievable. I lost both parents, both grandparents, or all grandparents. And I talked to someone who's, maybe losing a parent now, and I watched them shut down. And we have same situation. We just had different reactions to it. So the human spirit is unbelievable. It can do anything. It's still fragile. We watch people snap all the time. I believe what happened to the Oscars was a person snapping. We see it all the time. We're very fragile. But I think what happened, there was like a level playing field when pandemic happened, right? So everyone's at home, they're in quarantine, and there were a lot of young people who didn't have access to computers, so they couldn't actually go to school, right? We tend to think of the internet being everywhere, but even in this country, there are a lot of young people who could not access the internet. But it did level the playing field in this regard. Everyone had to be at home with themselves, right? And in close encounters and quarters with everybody for the first time, right? Really sit with themselves. And so for the first time in maybe 10 years, I had to change my message completely. And that is, I needed to reframe. I need to help people reframe where they are. Because I had traveled. I've seen people who, again, not have running water or could not wait to get to school because they knew it was such a privilege because their parents couldn't have gone. And so I said, Shaun, you need to fix this quickly. Always focus on the solution, right? And so a lot of people were focusing on like, okay, what post-pandemic bliss? And I'm like, no, we're here now, let's celebrate it. And so I made a whole presentation and program that really outlined all the good of being in quarantine. And I started to get hired. Because what I said, instead of saying, for example, I have to, take out the trash, or I have to be with my parents, or I have to do the dishes. I started having young people start to change that to I get to. And I'll never forget this one young person. I said, we're on Zoom, by the way, so you can see the chat box. And I said, all right, everyone, time to transform. All right, we're gonna reframe. All right, I want you to put change something that you don't like to do, right? Dishes, I have to do the dishes. Change it to I get to do the dishes. He writes, I get to do the dishes. I'm like, how does that feel? Like clockwork, he goes, still sucks.
For now.
I was excited because I knew I had something. I said, well, hold on. Let's call him Timothy. I don't know. So hold on, Timothy. I said, in order for you to say, I get to do dishes, means that at some point you got to say, I got to eat. So, reframing happened during the pandemic with my company and a lot of speakers that I work with, showing what is something that you can do now that you could not do. I mean, I want you to make a list. When you first start this out, it's like making a grateful list. It's kind of silly. You're like, I'm grateful for my roof over my head. So kind of started like, I don't know, I get to hang out with my people, my family, and hang out with my dog. And then they go a little deeper. I guess the time I can sleep in a little bit, right? And then like I can play video games. And then they're like, wait a minute. All the time that I've asked for, everyone's been asking for that thing that cannot be duplicated, which is more time. And then finally, everyone got more time. So everyone who's been saying, man, I wish I could write a book, I could record an album, I can write lyrics to a song or a poem, I can work on my body, I can run more, exercise more, and get closer to my family, right? Here you have a great opportunity. One of my favorite lines from a movie, it's a movie called Evan Almighty. You got Morgan Freeman plays God, and it's sort of like the sequel to Bruce Almighty with Jim Carrey. This time, that's Evan Almighty. He's playing Noah, the second Noah, if you will. Third, if you count the second Noah as a show. Okay. And Morgan Freeman's character, right, is talking to Evan's wife. And Evan's wife does not know that this busboy is God. And she's telling Morgan Freeman's character all the frustrating things happening in her family. And she looks at him and says, what does that sound like to you? And he says, it sounds like an opportunity. She looks at him like, what? And then Morgan Freeman's character looks at her dead in the eye and said, when people pray for patience, do you think that God gives them patience, or does he give you the opportunity to be patient? When you pray for courage, does he give you courage, or does he give you the opportunity to be courageous? When you ask for your family to be closer together, do you think that he just zaps you with warm, fuzzy feelings, or does it give you the opportunity for you to love and care for each other? Everyone got in touch with themselves in a way they never had before. And how can you appreciate things that you don't notice? So when I was doing life coaching, I would have something called an UB journal, an unexpected blessings journal. And the reason why I would have people start with an unexpected blessing journal is because I wanted to see if they could at least notice great things happening in their lives. And I say, listen, every day, we'll meet up once a week for a month, but every day you've got to write in your UB, and then they have to see. And of course, it started like, yeah, I noticed strangely that, my neighbor said hi. She doesn't usually do that. That was an unexpected blessing. Then it comes bigger. I got a parking space, right? This is Santa Monica, LA. I've never had that. And then you realize that more things are happening in your favor than not. And that you, just like negative influences, just like bad news travels faster than good, you've been sort of programmed of sorts, just by DNA, to notice all the bad things, right? All the negative things to fix, right? And they realize, oh my goodness, like every day, things are happening that I'd never noticed before. I said, well, if you never noticed them before, it's almost like they're not happening, isn't it? So now, the whole world got a break. We got a chance to sit still and realize all the things we have, right? And how important your health is, and your mental health. That became even more a hot button. And now we get to re-enter the workspace with poise and respect and gratitude in a way that we hadn't before. Because if you take someone who lives in, Cape Town, or who lives in Johannesburg, right? And you bring them here, and you set them in a school in Jersey, and you watch this kid perform. He'll perform like his life depended on it, because it does. But here, in one of those richest countries in the world, rich in things, it's hard to see appreciation. It's hard to see the things that are working out for us. It's hard to be appreciative until it's taken away. And that's the first thing. What's the first thing you're going to do when we get our freedom back, right? And everyone's like, oh, I'm going to go to the mall, I have friends, I'm just going to go breathe on strangers. And now that's where appreciation is. Here's a man, his name is Sadhguru. Let me know if I'm talking too much. He's got me on a I'm like on a
No,
roll.
not at all. I agree, though. I mean, we just get to a point where we get what we ask for, and then we regret that we asked for it, or we don't even realize that this is what we asked for.
Oh, absolutely. This is why it's important to journal, though, too, because you can look back in time and go, oh, I got exactly what I asked for, of course. Mm-hmm. The question is, how are you going to feel when you get that? Yeah. And really focus on that. So my team meetings, and I had one before this call, I had it a couple hours ago. I always start out with something called one word. And this concept has traveled. It's helped CFS, which is Course from Scratch, and some other companies I've worked with. I say, one word, how are you feeling? And I check in with them. They'll say ecstatic, or lethargic, or whatever it is, just to see if they can feel their emotion right then. Because if you could feel where you are now, right, you can change it because you can locate it. So instead of saying, I don't work with goals the same way as other people do, right? I don't say, what do you want to accomplish, right? I say, how do you want to feel when you accomplish that, right? And they might say, I want to feel fulfilled, or I want to feel joyful, or I want to feel playful. And I say, okay, can we feel playful until we get to the goal? And then it's like them experiencing it in real
because
time.
it moves it from being all about thought to invoking your heart. And passion is, as you said, it's what drives us forward. It's what connects us with the goal in the first place.
It's absolutely, but see, it's also falling in love with the journey. As generic as that might sound, the reason why I say that is because anyone who has accomplished any difficult task, right? Like, I don't know, climbing a mountain. The time you spend on the mountaintop is so inferior to the time, right, it takes to go up and down. It's so small, right? So enjoying the journey is super important, because whenever you hit that goal, that feeling doesn't last. You're on to the next. And our success in this country, in a polychromic capitalist society, is a moving target. So what if I enjoy it on the way up? Then how much more fulfilled will I feel, That's why I focus on the feeling of a goal as opposed to just the accomplishment.